Hello and welcome to the YYC Soccer Podcast. My name is Jason Kmet and my co-host is Scott Strasser. Hey, Scott.
Hey, Jason. How's it going?
Good. Hot day today. It was actually, I'm kind of glad I wasn't playing soccer today. I think I would have died of heat exhaustion.
Yeah, it's been hot for a while in Calgary. I think I'm ready for some cooler temperatures personally, but no, it's been a good weekend. Had a friend's kid's birthday party today and another friend's gender reveal yesterday. So lots of socializing for me, but managed to get some soccer in as well. So we're excited to talk about it.
Yeah, sounds good. This is our weekend review where we talk about matches regarding Calgary teams and how they did over the weekends. So we're going to talk about Cavalry versus Forge, the Wild against AFC Toronto, and a bunch of U Sports matches, the Dinos and Cougars, both on the men's side and the women's side. So yeah, we're going to talk about them.
For sure. Let's dive right into it and let's kick things off with Cavalry versus Forge.
Hi, this is Tobias Waszewski. You're listening to the YYC Soccer Podcast.
All right, Scott, big match, Spruce Meadows on Saturday afternoon. Forge comes to town. They're working on an invincible season. And yeah, I think in the last episode, I made a comment about, I'm sure Cavalry would like nothing more than to knock that off. And yeah, they did it quite effectively.
They did it in style with a 4-1 win, a big statement victory in the Canadian Premier League with 7 games left. But yeah, what a performance from Cavalry. Ran riot over Forge at Spruce Meadows. Well-deserved win. And yeah, that ends the 24-game unbeaten run that Forge had been enjoying. And in the CPL, they'd won the first 20 games of the season without losing. So Cavalry did a really good job strategically, tactically. They shut down Forge's midfield, and they were just relentless on the attack. And I think every Cavalry player had a good game. And I think a lot of Forge players probably didn't have a good game by their own standards. So kind of a combination of Cavalry being really, really good on the day and Forge just, for whatever reason, crumpling. But it kind of continues a trend where Cavalry have been getting good results against Forge at Spruce Meadows for the last few years.
Yeah, like I thought Cavalry looked great. They looked so dangerous offensively. I kind of agree with what you're saying about Forge. I think, Forge, they crumbled to a point, obviously, when you score 4 goals. But they didn't make a lot of like really obvious like gaffes or like really like dumb plays or whatever. It wasn't like that. It was just Cavalry dominated them is really what it amounted to.
Yeah, and Cavalry's goal getters really showed up. So Tobias Waszewski scoring a brace. That second goal of his was a great piece of play from him. Ali Musi got his 8th goal of the season, and then Sergio Camargo getting the insurance goal to make it 4-1. Forge's only goal came from Nana Mampoma to spoil Cavalry's clean sheet, and this was probably the only obvious mistake that Cavalry made in the game was their defending on that goal. But it could have been even more than 3 goals, right? Like Cavalry hit the crossbar early on and had a few other chances. So this is the best we've seen Cavalry play this year, I think.
I want to mention something that I also heard when I was at the match, Scott. I think it was right after the 3rd goal. Former Cav and currently working in the front office, Mason Trafford came over to where the press area was, and he proclaimed the front 3 of Cavalry to be the best offensive unit in all of Canadian soccer, including MLS.
Is he including Gauthier Natigny in that front 3?
Yeah, like Natigny, Musi, and Waszewski. And he said, that front 3 is better than the front 3 in any Canadian MLS team. And I was like, I don't know enough about who they all are to comment, but and he is an enthusiastic kind of guy, but that was his proclamation, I believe, after the 3rd goal.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't watched enough of Vancouver Whitecaps this season to be able to compare their front 3 with Cavalry's, but obviously they've got Thomas Mueller now, so I don't know. But yeah, no, I think that front 3 is it's really strong when they're all performing, and they all were on Saturday. I don't think he didn't get in on the goals action, and I don't know if he actually was credited with an assist. Was he the assister on Waszewski's first one, Natigny?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he was. He had an excellent game, even better than the game where we singled him out for being kind of like a fire starter for Cavalry's offense. But yeah, every time, we've said this a million times it seems, but every time Natigny's on the ball on that left wing, it just feels like he can make something happen, and he's helped reinvigorate Cavalry's offense.
One thing I was going to ask you about, Scott, because I know you're better about tactics and understanding tactics than me, but when you have Gerasimenkov playing left back and you've got Natigny playing up front on the left side, and those two guys, they're fast, they've got a lot of offensive skill. It just seemed like they were just going up and down, back and forth, both of them. And I just think that was just, they were causing Forge to have fits that it just seemed to be continuous.
Yeah, because I think you get used to a winger doing something. Like if one player, they always cut in, or if the other player, they like to get to the byline, then you can kind of prepare yourself as a defender. And when they keep switching like that, it just makes it harder. You have to keep thinking and being on the ball. And, great work down the left from those two on Saturday. And can't really overstate how good of a game this was for Cavalry.
I guess right now, when we look at the CPL table, Cavalry, as a result of this win, and we don't know the results yet because Wanderers and York are going to play on Monday. Cavalry right now at 33 points, they're 4 ahead of those two teams. And so they're kind of create a little bit of separation for third place. And there's always a chance that they could still move up.
There is, yeah. They're 10 points back of Ottawa, who are in second, and they're now 13 points back of Forge, and they have 7 games left, so play every team once. I imagine they'll be hoping that Halifax and York draw on Monday. That would be best case scenario from a Cavalry perspective, and then they'd be 3 points clear of both of those teams with 1 round of matches left to play for everybody.
Hi, this is Grace Doherty, and you're listening to the YYC Soccer Podcast.
So let's talk about Calgary Wilds. They were in Toronto this weekend to face NSL leaders AFC Toronto. A very depleted roster due to the high number of injuries within the Wild core at the moment. Definitely a game that they didn't have the highest chances of coming away with 3 points, and this one did finish in a 2-0 win for Toronto. Both of Toronto's goals came from Zoe Burns, the first right before halftime, and then the second right after the second half got underway. So for most of this match, Calgary did hold Toronto at bay. But yeah, Toronto I think they're just on another level right now in the NSL, and it was quite clear that they were, I think, a little bit stronger than Calgary were and continue to be.
When you look at this league right now, I think Toronto has kind of shown that they're at the top of the table for a reason. And then I think the other thing is too, you look at a team like Vancouver, they were pretty much even with the Wild for a good chunk of the beginning part of the season, but they've just really shot up and taken off. They're now in second place and 29 points. They've been on a really good run, and the kind of run that would have been great if the Wild could have managed, but they haven't done so. Vancouver is now, like I said, they're looking at second place, and I kind of just look at it right now, and it's like Wild are 8 points away from a playoff spot right now, and I don't know, that means they're going to have to play significantly better than one of those other teams they're chasing right now, and in the remaining 7 games, I think that's going to be really hard.
Yeah, it's starting to look unlikely, right? They've got 7 games left. Do they play Halifax once more or twice more? Because Halifax seems to be the only team that I'm actually confident every time Calgary play that they're going to get a result. Now that they haven't, right? Like they actually have lost to Halifax, but every other team, it just seems like a surprise to me when Calgary is the better team.
Well, yeah, I think with, they don't have to completely run the table at this point in their 7 games, but they're going to have to win probably 5 of them, I think, if they want to make the playoffs.
Yeah, and that would include beating, they haven't beaten Toronto yet. They've played them 4 times and they've lost 2-1, 2-1, 2-1, and 2-0. So Toronto just seems like a game that they just can't beat that team at the moment. And then, I was thinking before, I'm like, they're going to have to win out against Vancouver because that's the team next to them at the table. But like you mentioned, Vancouver has shot up to second place. And actually, it's a really tight battle for second place because Ottawa and Montreal are just a point back of Vancouver. It almost feels like we have the playoffs set now, and Calgary and Halifax are just kind of playing out the rest of their season. But I don't know. We got to maintain some hope that they will be able to get some wins on the board and find some rhythm and maybe have some of their players come back from injury. But yeah, it's not looking like that's what's going to happen, unfortunately.
On the injury front, Mike Rolfsma and Janaea Robertson were both on the bench, and they both ended up, getting onto the field as substitutes. So that's a couple players that seem to be on their way back. But yeah, they're still missing a bunch, unfortunately.
Yeah, they could really use Kylie Johnson back, I think. I can't remember, was it a knee injury that kept her out, or I can't remember what exactly she's out with.
I think the original thing was it was a sprained knee, something like that. And that was back in that when she went to go play for Australia, and then she came back and she was off for a few games, and then she came back and played one game, and she was substituted on and off in one game very quickly. So I think something happened in that match, and we haven't seen her since. So there's a bunch of players that haven't dressed for a long time now. Kaylee Books hasn't played for a long time either.
Yeah, and it just seems like it's we talked about in a few episodes now, like it did seem like they had turned a corner with their offense, and signing Catherine Harvey and Jorian Balcom really helped with that. But it just seemed like in this game, just felt like they weren't able to crack Toronto's defense. They did have 52% of possession, so they had a lot of the ball, and they made a lot of passes, but getting the ball into the box and generating, I think they got 2 shots on goal against Toronto. So I don't have their stats in front of me, but they seem to average 1 goal a game, and you got to average more than that if you're going to be, shooting for a playoff position.
So I just pulled up the standings on the NSL website, Scott, and it's got the goals for and against. And in 18 matches, they've scored 17 goals. So just ever so slightly under a goal a match.
Hi, this is Miguel Da Rocha, and you're listening to the YYC Soccer Podcast.
Let's talk some U Sports Canada West Cougars Dinos action.
Yeah, there were all 4 teams from those schools. So the men's and the women's were in action in Saskatchewan. Let's start with the women's Dinos team, because they had a pretty emphatic performance in their season opener with a 6-0 win over University of Regina with 4 goals from sophomore Brooke Batty.
Yeah, pretty impressive match. And then also on the weekend, they went up to Saskatoon to play the Huskies, and that was on Sunday, and they won 2-0 in that match, and Brooke Batty got both those goals.
Yeah, what a start to the season for her. And this is a second-year player who only played 6 games as a rookie last year. And in those 6 games, she only got the 1 shot. So for her to come back and have this kind of immediate impact and have 6 goals after 1 weekend of play, phenomenal weekend for her. And Jason, I got some Dinos trivia for you. By scoring 4 goals in 1 game, Batty tied a record that was set in 2007 and then equaled in 2016. So she is the 3rd Dinos women's player to score 4 in a game.
Great performance, and yeah, really strong start for the Dinos women's side. It's not unexpected. They've been ranked pretty highly this year, but they definitely showed that they're going to be a team to be reckoned with this year.
I definitely think so. And in case anyone is wondering, the other 2 Dinos alumni who scored 4 in a game were Morena Ionello in 2007 and then Molly Ramsey in 2016. Mount Royal University women also had a good weekend out in Saskatchewan, Jason. They got their season off to a good start with a 3-2 win over the Saskatchewan Huskies, and then followed that up with a 2-1 win over University of Regina.
In the Battle of the Cougars.
Yeah, they're both called the Cougars, aren't they?
In the game against the Huskies, Dani Juarez got 2 goals and Tamara Jurisic got the other. And then in the Regina match, Tamara Jurisic also hit the score sheet again, and the other goal was scored by Gabrielle Linford.
Yeah, and when they played Saskatchewan, actually, the goal scorers for the Huskies in that game both have Calgary connections. Danielle Lehman who is actually from Langdon, just outside of Calgary. And then Isabelle Lachance, who was the third leading scorer in the League One Alberta season this past summer with Villains. And this is actually her first university season.
And let's talk about the men's teams. And the Dinos, they started out on Friday in Lethbridge, and they played the Pronghorns. And the Dinos were able to defeat the Pronghorns 3-2.
Yeah, 2 goals from Solomon Aria, and then Marco Plenzik with the other one. And then Dinos followed up on Sunday with a narrow 1-0 win over the Saskatchewan Huskies, with Joey Plenzik scoring their goal.
And then moving on to the MRU Cougars men's team, they had a pretty successful weekend overall too. They played Saskatchewan Huskies. They won their first match 2-1. Chinan Chandra scored one of the goals, which would give him 3 on the year. And the other goal in that match was an own goal. And then the Cougars went to Lethbridge to play the Pronghorns, and that match ended up in a 0-0 draw. So out of all the matches that happened over the weekend, Dinos and Cougars won 7 of the 8 matches, and 1 of them was a draw.
Yeah, and Cougars are still unbeaten then. That means with 3 wins and a draw in their first 2 weekends.
Thank you for listening to the YYC Soccer Podcast. You can have this podcast downloaded to your device as soon as it becomes available by subscribing on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or other platforms. Check out our website at yycsoccer.com, where you can look through our episode archive and find other options to listen, including our YouTube channel. We also have links there so you can buy Scott's book. It's all about the history of pro soccer in Calgary, and it's called Here Come the Cavalry. You can leave a question or comment in the Contact Us section of our website. You can also interact with us on social media such as Twitter or Instagram or Blue Sky, where our username is YYC Soccer 403. Thanks for listening.